If you come into my class and you've not done your homework, the first thing is not to punish you. It's to look, okay, talk to me and tell me. Maybe, I've had issues of kids have not done their homework because the mother gave birth, and the kid wants to share that news with you. But here you are punishing the child that, right? Or even forget about even the mother. That could be, should I say, a human thing. Sometimes it's just even just their dog. The dog got puppies, or the cat got kittens. And the kid is so excited, did not leave the side of the dog or the kittens and blah, 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 and didn't do homework. So here is a chance to teach the child, oh, okay, so give birth to puppies and whatever kind of thing, right? Can we talk about them? Have you given them names? Now, once you interest yourself in the children or in the person, then automatically it becomes, so my guiding principle has always been that. And because of that guiding principle, something very, I'll call it, it's a small thing, but it's a magical thing, right?
Education is the passport for the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. In that line, it's important to have conversations on education, and that is why today on Know Your Leader, we have a great man who has worked with so many young people in the education sector, and he's here on Know Your Leader to talk to us today. Stay with me, Abulase Mbuka, as we have this conversation with him. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good.
It's indeed a great honor to have you on Know Your Leader today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Mind introducing yourself to our audience?
Yes, I'm Clifford Oluoch, and should I say an educator.
Yeah.
So currently I am the principal at a school known as Regis Runda, which is a Kenyan local curriculum school. But previously I have worked in other places for the last 32 years. Before that, I was head teacher at Premier Academy Prep School. And before that, I was a deputy at Oshol Academy, both the primary and the secondary. Before that, I was at Educator Academy. And before that, I was at Strathmore School. So from 1990 till now, I've been in education. Of the 32 years, 22 years have been in international curriculum and 10 years in local curriculum, which is not saying much because ideally curriculum is curriculum. Yes.
So that makes how many years of practice?
Actually, uninterrupted 32. Interrupted is 35 because immediately after finishing my A-levels, I went into teaching as a UT, as an untrained teacher. In 1987. That's when I started. Then I interrupted it and went back to college and then came back to complete. So uninterrupted 32, interrupted close to 35 years. Yes. Yes, but again, I say on the side, I also have more than just being running in schools. I also have loads of youth programs in the slums that target children who live in the slum, that target the homeless, that target the street boys, right? Both to empower them so that it's one journey, educating the youth of the future.
Wow. And yes. It's indeed a tough journey, or let me say mixed emotions of educating the youth and working in the slums. What is your greatest inspiration in life?
Actually, amazingly, it's just that, life. Just life, right? Anywhere, whether you walk and meet a 1-year-old who is just learning how to walk, that's life. Or you meet an 80-year-old person that's life. To me, just to sit down and marvel at some of the things, whether you have a stray dog, a stray cat, you just sit and watch life. You see a flower growing, anything. To me, anything that has to do with life is already inspirational. To see it transform, right? to move from whatever state it is in to wherever it's going to reach. Now, that is what inspires me the most, because I want to see people grow and to see them change and them to see better themselves, right? And I want to see situations get much, much better. So that to me is always a driving force. It's like, okay, fine, I've started with you here. In the next 1 year, 2 years, whatever kind of thing, that should be, should I say what, our measure of success. Now that drives me. And that's how I started working with the street guys, because it was like, why are these kids not in school? They should be in school, right? And I'm like, okay, fine. So this is going to be my challenge. This is going to be my drive. This is going to be my inspiration, just to get them into school. Well, they got into school, right? And some of them dropped out. Now, getting them into school, the next challenge was like to stay in school and complete, So there's always that riding factor of this particular challenge called life. Man, that is inspiration enough.
Yes.
You don't need any other inspiration.
Yeah, and I remember on Thursday when we were feeding them at waistlines and they were calling Nodi Joe.
Yeah.
There's something striking about you, your humility. How do you do it?
Well, that's an interesting question. I grew up in a setup of and with very humble people. My late dad was extremely humble, right? But what shocked us is that when he went out of his way to get us into, should I say, high-cost schools, okay, which he could not afford, but at a scholarship, whatever kind. So when we went and interacted with all these rich kids and whatever kind of thing, and we realized they're not arrogant. They're actually human. That was the first shock for us, that these guys are actually human, right? And then coming across great teachers when I was in secondary school who inspired us, and to come and interact with a doctor, right, who has left his profession to come and have the vocation of teaching, right? That all along. So we were exposed to all these people who were very, should I say, human-driven, relationship-driven. And that has been my clarion call all throughout, whenever I deal with people, I deal with people. I don't deal with stages. I don't deal with societies. I don't deal with positions. I deal with you as a person, right? So when I walk into the slum, I don't see the slum. I see human beings. When I walk into Regis, I don't see Runda. I see human beings. There's no difference. Yeah.
And that ties into your guiding principles?
Yes. Guiding principle has always been humans first, right? And it's something that I've told the parents. We've thought about it. It's something I've told the teachers. We've thought about it. We are not teaching chemistry. We're not teaching biology. We're not teaching maths, right? I'm teaching a human being. I'm teaching a person. So if you come into my class and you've not done your homework, the first thing is not to punish you. It's to look, okay, talk to me and tell me. Maybe, I've had issues of kids have not done the homework because the mother gave birth, and the kid wants to share that news with you. But here you are punishing the child that, right? Or even forget about even the mother. That could be, should I say, a human thing. Sometimes it's just their dog. The dog got puppies, or the cat got kittens. And the kid is so excited, did not leave the side of the dog or the kittens and blah, 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 and didn't do homework. So here is a chance to teach the child, okay, so give birth to puppies and whatever kind of thing, right? Can we talk about them? Have you given them names? Now, once you interest yourself in the children or in the person, then automatically it becomes, so my guiding principle has always been that. And because of that guiding principle, something I'll call it, it's a small thing, but it's a magical thing, right? It's so small. However, it has become the last 20 years. The first thing I do every morning when I come to school, the first 1 hour, I don't stay in my office. I stand outside and greet the students. I actually welcome them to the school. Of course, when we were growing up, we used to be welcomed in a kiboko. Yes, the teacher on duty had a kiboko and wherever so that was a welcoming. So for me, it's no. So I welcome them and we talk, we joke, we whatever kind of thing, right? It's very small, but the kids cannot forget it. And because of that, I've had students say, like a legion of kids who don't want to go to class. They just want to stay there and talk. And through that, I've picked a number of things. I've actually seen students coming in, even older ones in secondary school, and just looking at their eyes, I'm like, things are not right. And the moment you say, oh, are you okay? And then burst out in tears and whatever kind of thing, right? So it's not chemistry, it's not biology, it's not physics, it's actually human perspective. So that has been my guiding principle along. Break time, when I joined radio school, the first thing the catering department came and told me, okay, sir, what time do you want your tea? And how do you want it? And whatever kind of thing. And what time do you have your lunch so that we can bring it to you? So I laughed and told them, nope, don't bring tea, don't bring lunch. I'll eat with the kids. Are you sure, sir? I said, yes, I'll eat with the kids. Whatever the kids are eating, I will eat. Whatever you're serving the kids, I will eat that. And I will say to them. So at break times, I go and see to them and we talk. And they have stories. They have so many stories, kind of, right? But the whole point is, principal is a title. Clifford is a person. So they should see Clifford the person, not principal, the title, right? So I say to them and we talk and I tell them this and that and whatever. We talk about their fights with their siblings and with their teachers and the challenges they've had. I mean, sometimes we even talk about subjects and what they're struggling with, and then we give them a clue here and a tip here, and you argue about certain things. They see the human in you. Yeah. And because I also teach creative writing, when I go to class, then I'm talking to human beings. I'm not talking to strangers. It's like, I know you very well, and you know me very well, and I was with you at break time you're having lunch, so how come you're not? So that kind of thing is my drive. That's my driving principle. Humans, humans, humans.
Wow.
Yeah, whether it's here or in the slums, it's humans, humans, humans.
Your students, your pupils are so lucky to have you. I envy them.
Well, I always say that there's a reason that God puts you on earth at that particular time, right? It's for you to actually find out that purpose, okay, and effect it.
And for you, teaching is that purpose.
Teaching is that purpose. So when it's all done or whatever, I'll tell God, here's my talanta you gave me. This is what I have returned. Wow. Yes, so I found my purpose, and I'm excited. I know, and yes.
Wow.
But it didn't come naturally because I had a tutor, a mentor when I was in school, A levels, and after finishing my A levels, there was that. I got a scholarship to go and study CPA at Strathmore College at that particular time. And my mentor told me, Cliff, no, you are not an office person, right? You're a teacher. But more than a teacher, you are kids' teachers. You're not someone to teach whatever you. Your purpose belongs to the kids. That's where you come out best. I think you should go for education. Yeah. My dad didn't like it and whatever kind of thing, but I listened to him because this is someone who had been with me for 6 years, kind of. Yes. And his guiding words, I've never forgotten them. If you want to be rich, go and do accountancy. If you want to be happy, go and become a teacher. Yeah. So I said, fine. I chose to be happy, but richly happy.
That is powerful. Your values as an educator.
Yes.
Your values.
Yeah. So the biggest value to me has always been selflessness. Yeah. At any given time, any particular time. Whether it is in class or in the dining hall or in the school bus or, kind of in the slums, my guiding principle has always been selflessness first. Yes, we always told, think about you before others. For me, it's always the other way around. First, think about the others, right? And then think about yourself. I'll give you an example. During COVID time, we had all these craze about joblessness and, should I say, curfews and all those things that happened. And people were reaching out. Organizations, Clifford, we don't have this, we don't have this. So I said, okay, fine, guys, this is going to be tough, but we have to do it. So we started a 10-day campaign, right, to raise just 10 shillings for 10 days, for 10 organizations. So all I'll ask people is just, guys, just give me 10 bob for 10 days. Don't give me 100 bob and then tell me that's for 10 days. No. Give me 10 bob today, give me 10 bob tomorrow, and whatever kind of thing. Right? I've got 10 organizations that I need to fundraise for. And the target was 50,000 shillings per day, whatever kind of thing, right? Well, in 10 days, we raised close to 2 million shillings in 10 days for the 10 organizations, right? And all you had to do was just to share and keep on sharing, right? Of the 10 organizations, right, my organization was not there. Okay, so one person told me, listen, Cliff, you can't do that. I said, listen, those guys are needier than I am. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I know my network. Mm-hmm. I have a network. If I call you and tell you, listen, I need 1,000 bob, right, I will get it. Guys, I need a new kind of, right? Says, no, Cliff, it doesn't work like that. Said, okay, fine. I'll put my organization last as the 11th one, so that, right? Yeah. Because the person said the only way I'm going to contribute if it's the organization is there. If it's not there, I'm not, because I don't know the other people. I said, fine, right? And at the end, the 11th day and whatever kind of things, that I got more money than most of them. There were other 3-4 organizations, I gave them the money. And from there, we started, I started supporting a group of single mothers who had reached out on this and whatever kind of thing. But my point is about the others put them first, right? If you put yourself first, if I'd put myself first, I would have gotten 50,000 that first day. Mm-hmm. I put myself last. I ended up getting 500,000 shillings, the others, the most that I ever got was 100,000. Because now by the 10th day, the whole thing had spread. And then people asking, can you continue? I told them, no. It was for 10 days. It's over. Let's not take advantage of people's generosity. Let's move on to the next thing. So that aspect of always, selflessness. And that's what I've told all my students, all the groups that I work with, I'll give my time. If you ask me to charge you for time, I normally say no. I've gone for trainings and everything, and they ask me how much. I tell them that I spend 10,000 shillings per day feeding 150 people. So how many days can you sponsor? How many days do you want to sponsor? You decide. One day, fine, give me 10,000. Mm-hmm. 1 week, give me 70,000. It's up to you. But I'm not going to tell you this is my time that I charge per whatever kind of thing. I've come to train your group. I'll train them. And I'll go. And that is the end of the story. So it's not always about you. It's always about the impact you leave behind and everything. Yes. That's throughout, even in education, in life. And I don't separate the two. Yeah. To me, they're intertwined.
That is just so powerful. For the 35 years, you said 35, right?
35 years.
You've had a ride.
Mm-hmm.
A ride of enjoying your career, happiness.
Definitely. When I see my the products or the graduates, who have come out. Oh yeah, and I forgot actually. I think when you see them, you feel good. Yeah. But for me, the most impactful part was about 3-4 years ago, when you're celebrating 25 years since a certain group had graduated from Strathmore. And these guys were there, 10 of them, not many of them, all in professionals, doctors, lawyers, blah, blah, engineers. We had to go through their classes when they were in standard 1 up to form 4. It was just fun. But more than fun, there is one of the doctors, he's a neurosurgeon, Dr. Soki. He was excellent, exemplary from beginning to the end, top of the class. Right? So he got this pennant, Every year, we just know Adil Raj will get it. You know what he did? He returned 2 of them.
Wow.
He came and said, I'm returning these 2. And I'm going to give them to Michael Thanga and John Matogo. Why? Let me be honest. I got these things because of my academic prowess. But I was not an all-round student. I was not. I sucked in sports. I sucked in drama. I sucked in co-curricular and whatever kind of thing. The guys were better than me all around. This belongs to them, not to me. And he gave it back. And we looked at him and says, whoa. So here is Michael Thanga, who for all these 12 years was like top of the class in sports and extracurricular, not far in academics. So if you put all those all-round things, then Mike would come top. But we didn't have that criteria then. He returned it. And I said, this guy for all these years has always felt that he did not deserve this. Right? The natural thing would be to tell his kids, like, angalia baba yako alikuwa number 1. Your dad was number 1 from beginning to the end. No, he chose not to do that. He chose to give it to another person. So I can imagine what Michael is going to tell his kids. That this was given to me by the person who was number 1 because he felt that I was better than him. Imagine. So you have got Michael's kids and Dilrad's kids being impacted. But where did they get that thing from? They got it from the school, that idea of be selfless. Think of the others before you think about yourself.
Quite an awesome journey. Now onto the education sector.
Yes.
Education is a catalyst for sustainability and development.
Yes.
Kindly comment on the state of education in Kenya.
Generally, I think it would be more the state of education in the world. Somehow, education has always lagged behind innovation. Innovation always comes first, and then education tries to catch up. Look at now. We're now in the technological era. And how technology came in and revolutionized things. Was so fast that the world was actually struggling to get software engineers. University had not reached that level of training software engineers. Right? Education again was so focused on academic results that they forgot that there are people who are not academic. So the field of special education, first let's look at Kenya. Think about the first cohort of specially trained in special ed, I think should be about 15 years now, right? So you can imagine before that, kids who had special ed issues, and learning difficulties. What were we doing? We're just beating them and making them what? Making them repeat and making them repeat. And they're not getting it. So anyway, my point is that education somehow in the world has always lagged behind. That innovation has never been part of education, unfortunately. Now, if you look at some of the 21st century skills that, should I say, we're trying to get out, innovation is one of them. And it's not about just innovation in terms of technology and whatever, but even innovation in terms of looking ahead and seeing that, by the time we reach here, right, this is what has happened. So if you look at Kenya currently, fine, we're in this transition of 844 and CBC. Unfortunately, it had to take the massive rigging of exams and cheating, for that decision to be emphatically made. But how did you reach that particular point? Again, because we were behind. We were so focused on getting exam results that when cheating came in, we didn't even say it. So that disconnect, again, is something that we need to work on. Research, is something that we hardly put money. We need to invest. We need to put our money into research. We need to get our dons and professors, coming to nursery schools to research on the psychology of the child and the progression of the child. We need to get them more involved in writing textbooks for kids. We need to get them that connection between schools and university and the Ministry of Education, is just kind of those dots. You have people working brilliantly at KICD on their own, people working brilliantly at Ministry of Education, people working brilliantly at universities, and people like us working brilliantly in the schools, right?
Yeah.
All these entities are silos on their own. There's just now that unifying factor. Now, when you get that unifying factor, then you have a huge ball of energy that actually propel this country to the next. And the person who's supposed to be taking the lead in that is actually the Ministry of Education, because they're the ones who are connecting all this. But currently we are not. So those silos, yes, they're working brilliantly, but...
Now that you have mentioned the silos,
yes,
my next question was going to be, in your own view, do you feel like education is playing its role in development as envisioned by the SDGs?
Yes, I would say that, because eventually, normally the moment you get to the point whereby you can read, write, and calculate, a different world opens up completely, kind of, right? So it is for you, it's like a road being illuminated and the lights showing. So once you've seen the path, kind of, it's for you to do whatever you're going to do with the path. When it comes to some of the SDG goals, I always feel that politics sometimes stifles all these things. Because if you look at some of the papers and the policies and whatever, I mean, they're brilliant. If you look at the Kenyan constitution, you'd be like, wow. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the policies on education and the papers and those sessional papers, you look at them and you read them as an academic, and you're like, who wrote this thing? Right? But core ground. Yes, when it comes to that implementation, and now we're now, what do you call it? The politicians start hijacking some of these things, and for this and whatever kind of thing, then things start breaking down. And the reasons those who break down is because some of our systems they're not strong. I remember there's a time during the Moi era, someone had come up with, they wanted to move a motion that writing, what do you call it, bounce checks should be criminalized. And the MPs laughed and they shot it down. So it was not, at that time, it was not criminalized, So if you have people who have been elected and have reached that particular level, kind of, right, and they're the ones who will now criminalize the laws and the policies, kind of, then eventually what are you left with, right? Yeah, then your goals cannot be fulfilled, cannot be implemented, because there's a stumbling block. And the stumbling block is never a policy issue, right? It's always a political issue. Yeah.
So what milestones have you achieved as in your own capacity as an educator for the last 5 years that you have been in practice?
Oh, okay. Normally we don't, we don't look at milestones, because if you start looking at milestones, then basically it's like an audit of what you've been doing, right? I've been put here for a purpose, and I can talk about the journey, kind of, right? Because now, my journey now, after 35 years, I'm here as a principal, heading a local curriculum school, after I'd run away from local curriculum. So I'm again here to give back to the local curriculum, right? In the process, right, of those 35 years, the biggest thing that I've tried to do, which is starting to bear fruit, is to connect the two worlds of the haves and the have-nots, the privileged and the underprivileged. I'll give you an example using Reggie School as an example, because that was my dream all along, right? But I was not able to implement it in the other schools because I did not have some of the veto powers the board had. So right now at Reggie School, right, we have 1,200 students here, but we have a community service program, right? And the one that I'll talk about mostly is the one that touches on the immediate community. Next to Regis is Githogoro slums, right? So we have adopted 2 schools. Brilliant Academy, which is a primary school up to grade 5, and Starkid School, which is across. We've adopted them. Adopted means what? We work with them. Okay? So how do we work with them? Every Friday, 10 or 15 students from Brilliant Academy spend the whole day at Regis. Okay? In their respective classes. So if they're grade 2s on that side, they'll come and we'll spread them across in grade 2. And they'll spend the whole day here. Right? Why? We want them to see a different world. We want our students, right, to also see that different world. Okay. And we want to open their minds. That's number 1. 2, we do have live lessons beamed to Brilliant Academy. So our teachers, when they're teaching, right, we beam their lessons to, so once a week, we pick whatever lesson, and we have that interactive session between the two groups, you know. Of course, the first time we went and we did it, and we had these like 50, 60 kids who did not talk throughout, because for them it was like a movie. They're seeing a teacher teaching, you know, kind of, right? And they can see themselves and whatever. It was just, you know, but now they've gotten used to it, so they participate in their lessons, and right. Every Saturday as well, we have these co-curricular activities, swimming, football, coding, all those things. And 20 kids from Brilliant Academy come and join, right? They're part of it. So that to us is that's one way of giving back. Our own Form 2 students spend 3-4 days conducting a holiday camp at Brilliant Academy. So they also went on that side to spend their time. So those to me are some of the milestones I can talk about. That eventually you set up a system, right, whereby all these groups work together. Why? Because my dream has always been that for every privileged school, they do adopt an underprivileged school and they work with it. It's not only about whatever, right? Donating stationery and whatever kind of thing and just going to dump them there and then you forget about it. No, you take them. Now, we've taken one child from Brilliant Academy and it's like, said, okay, fine, let's sponsor you. You come to Regis, right? And let's see if your education now can be bettered in a way. There's no guarantee, but you give them a chance, you know, kind of, right? We had a 2-week holiday camp over here at Regis School. Same thing that I duplicated at Deep Sea Slums holiday camp, right? So if you ask me about milestones, I'll tell you about those are the things I've done and is left a legacy so that whoever comes back, we've already kind of, right? When we started 3 years ago at Deep Sea Slums with the holiday camp, the kids had never seen anything like that. It was just out of the world. And then of course, COVID came and we had to stop. And this, now they keep on talking about it. So when things opened again and now we have got this long holiday, easily we went into the holiday camp, right? Now it has become like, should I say, normal in Deep Seas, like whenever there's a holiday, they expect a holiday camp. Yeah, and when they get the camp, what happens? Then they're fed so that they don't go outside to beg and whatever. Yeah, those to me, yeah. If you want to talk about the textbooks that I've written and the storybooks that I've written, I don't know that those are milestones. They are. To me, it's like that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
The humility. Okay. Well, can you talk to us about this book and the lessons people can draw from it?
Okay. Perfect Score. Well, this is the first of 4 books. Right? It has a history. And I was not supposed to say my age, but I will have to. I was supposed to publish this book when I turned 50. Right? I was really struggling and almost trying to force it, you know, kind of because I wanted it to be huge, celebrate this and launch and that kind of thing. But again, life happens. So it didn't work out. And then now I kind of had to re-strategize and see how can I get it. So what I did is that there are 10 stories here and 9 vignettes, short stories. what I did was to take from the 4 books, well, actually there are 3 books, but now this had to be the 4th book, excerpts of my life and put it in 1 book. So there are stories about me as a teacher. There's stories about me as a philanthropist. There are stories about me as a student, right? In different places. Yeah. So that's what I put them together. The stories about my dad and myself, and my family, my kids, my wife. Yeah. So it's what word do they use? They call it pilau.
Cocktail.
It's a cocktail. It's a pilau. It's a cocktail of stories. Yeah, which I had to get out so that as a writer, when your book is published, it gives you energy to do the next. Yeah. The next, yeah. So I needed that to be out so that I can work on the next project. So it's easier for me to work on it. So yes, enjoy the totally 19 stories. And once you read them, then you have a clearer picture of my philosophy in life, philosophy in education, and my passion for everything that I work on. Yeah, the loads and loads of emotions in the book.
People should have tissues close by to read.
Well, both. You'll have tissues because you'll be crying, and you'll have tissues because you'll be laughing hysterically. It's cross, kind of, because from a crossboard, it has me in the, what do you call it, delivery ward, maternity ward. Kind of that's one extreme when my daughter is born. The other extreme is years later, kind of, I'm almost holding my dad's hand as he dies, kind of. So both extremes of life are there, kind of. Hilarious things that happen in the classroom with students, the kind of, should I say what, cheekiness that goes on in class, kind of. And there's no teacher who has not visited their students in the hospital wards. So the whole chapter on ward rounds, kind of when you go to visit, and the stories behind the stories. Yes, so it's a loaded.
Which is your favorite chapter?
So I've been asked that. I've got 2 favorite ones. I'll say Clifford Oluochs, which was my journey into the maternity ward. Right. That was a cocktail and a roller coaster of emotions from here to, kind of. Yes, so that one is that connection with life at the beginning. Appreciation of women who carry pregnancy and go through that, and where children come from. Yeah, so that's one. I'll give 3 instead of 2. Of course, the other one is The Last Dance. And it's the journey of my dad and cancer, kind of, because people go through these things, but we don't document them, we don't talk about them. Yes. So where you feel that you're suffering and that kind of thing, but how it turned out it's actually a gift. Because when my mom died, I got a phone call that she's passed away. Right. So it's like a month before I'd seen her. When my dad died, I was with them for 7 consecutive months on a daily basis. So it's like a gift. It's like, oh, I've spent the last days of your life with you, right? The only thing I regretted was just him not writing a book and telling his stories. Anyway, the other story is Forever Your Teacher, Ria. Yeah. And this is okay, let me just use the word. It's a beautiful story. From the time I met this 4-year-old girl to the time I left Oshawa 12 years later. I left when she was, I met her when she was 4, and I left when she was like 12 or 13. So like consecutively, kind of, and been with her for this number of years. But it's just not that being with her, it's the things that happened around, because in the process, her father passed away. I was there for the funeral, kind of, like in the process, I had to move from primary to secondary because of boardroom politics and these kind of things, kind of. A lot happened as I saw her grow. Yeah, so to me, it summarizes what a teacher is. Kind of the advantage of being in a station for X number of years, where you see a child come in, and by the time they're leaving, kind of you're laughing with them, saying all those things. Yeah.
So beautiful. The parting shot.
The parting shot is keep it human. Always. Always keep it human.
Thank you so much.
Sawa. Asante. Teaching is much more than giving lessons and pushing students to attain grades. It is about human interaction. That's what it says. It is these human relationships that Clifford explores in his memoir that spans his life as a teacher. So just keep it human.
Keep it human.
Keep it human. Always.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a great honor to have this conversation with you.
Asante sana. Thank you.
Wow, don't you all wish that Clifford was your head teacher, principal, teacher, mentor? These are the reforms we should be talking about in the education sector. In everything you do, just remember to keep it human. This is Loyal Leader, brought to you by me. I'm Latsa Mbukwa. Keep it Success Africa.